and welcome to Minute with a Member, hosted by the Broward County Black Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to another episode. This show is all about making sure we're highlighting local entrepreneurs, telling their stories, and letting you know that, quite frankly, we have the expertise and we have what you need right here in our community. We don't want the stories behind what makes our entrepreneurs successful to go untold. And so that's why you're tuning in here today to get your weekly inspiration. I'm really excited to have our next guest on today, who's been a member of the Chamber for quite some time. I can't wait for you to meet him and to hear all about his company. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Hi, thanks, Rio. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited to have you. I think your story is pretty cool, how you got to what you're doing. And I think also folks need to understand there's a method behind what you all do, right? And ensuring that our folks understand what listings there are, the expertise, the research that goes into it all. And so definitely happy to have you on the show. I want to start at the beginning, right? So, who was Derek as a little boy? What was little Derek? Who's little Derek?
Little Derek was an extreme Nick fan, and with everything going on right now, little Derek would be extremely happy.
Okay.
I'm actually originally from New York. My parents are from the Caribbean, from Trinidad, and all my life I loved real estate. Being in New York and going to Manhattan and seeing those tall buildings has always inspired me. I remember as a kid telling my mom that one day I'd own one of those buildings. So real estate has always been a part of my heart. My dad would buy and sell homes and also renovate property. So I think that gave me a little bit of insight to the man I am today.
I love that, Derek. I had no idea, but I guess it is that what they call that New York state of mind, or the Empire state of mind, where you really can get those juices flowing with everything that's happening there. It can inspire you. So growing up in New York, so you're in Florida now. So tell me a little bit about that process, that transition from, growing up to now you're in Florida. What brought you to the state?
Well, being from the Caribbean, my mom decided to move down, and parents got divorced. This is a bad story, but the good side is that it introduced me to South Florida, and it's crazy because as years pass, when I first came here, it was a little challenging to kind of get adjusted, but as years passed, I became a Floridian. I mean, we moved down in '94, and in that time period, I went to high school. My last year of high school here, and ended up going to college, Stetson University, a little bit north of here. And nice. that time was fun. It was interesting, but I gained a lot of knowledge. I think a lot of the people in South Florida have been very open arms and inviting me and making sure that even us New Yorkers have a place here. And I think half the people I spoke to at the time back then were actually half from New York anyway. But being in South Florida for this long now, I see myself as a Floridian. Still love New York. Still feel like it's part of my blood and my background. Always will be. But I love South Florida. I could not leave this warm weather and beaches and great people.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Being from Connecticut, parents kind of did the same thing. We were like, we're over these blizzards. Let's head to where it's sunny and beautiful. So we got a little bit about little Derek. Now you're in Florida. Went to Stetson. What did you major in, and what did you think you'd be doing with your life, when you were going to college as a freshman, kind of going in?
Well, I always knew I would be a business owner. That was originally my plan going in. Wow. And I ended up getting an accounting degree. And the reason why my site, I was going to go accounting and law. But the reason why primarily was because I thought with accounting, I get the background knowledge on how business works. So I ended up trying to become an auditor, going to the auditing route. And with that, I figured I'd get to see the back end of businesses and understand how they function. When I graduated, I ended up going with a local real estate company.
Oh. So so you have to explain that, Derek. So you're saying accounting, knew I wanted to own my business, and definitely the accounting side is something small businesses need to have. That administrative part, is critical. So I'm sure that serves you well as a small business owner. But you graduate and then you end up in a real estate office. So how did that happen?
Well, it was actually a real estate developer, a local real estate developer in South Florida, and I worked in their accounting team, and ended up becoming the director for one of the other companies I worked with, and handling a lot of the financials. I managed over 500 million in assets. yeah, it was nice. It was some nice companies and some nice bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But it was a different experience from what I'm doing now for sure. But it gave me some really big insight into how
Mm,
these companies work and
mm,
understanding also how to properly run a business and
love that.
being able to kind of take from a CFO that I was working under directly to learn some of his techniques and the things that he was doing was always very beneficial. I mean, in some situations, I was actually the head accountant, so it was
Nice.
nice to have that title and kind of work my way through business with it. So.
I love that. So how long were you with this real estate development firm?
Well, I had two different companies I worked with, but
Okay.
I did commercial accounting for roughly about 10 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then you said you had this entrepreneurial bug or itch,
Yeah.
so you knew you'd work for yourself. So when did you take the plunge and, how did you make that decision? How did you come to that decision?
Yeah. So I was working actually part time as an agent, as a realtor. And during that time, I worked with some of the local companies. And then I went full time shortly after. I kind of just really got hooked to helping people find homes. And the thought was, oh, I'm opening my own real estate company. So there were some other things I did in between. But that was one of I mean, I'm entrepreneurial through and through. I opened up another company as well before right before the crash happened in 2007. But I started real estate full time and I worked it for a while and
Hmm.
started opening up my own company in 2015.
Okay. So then what do you think you did to make that transition easy, opening up your own company?
Well, having the experience that I did have in real estate
Mhm.
primarily did give me kind of the little leg up a little bit. And then having
Mhm.
the background in accounting, I think made me feel like I understood what it would take financially to get it accomplished. So I think the combine of those two really did help me and give me stable footing on moving forward. And plus, having a very supportive wife, right? That's a
Makes
big
sense.
factor there. So my number one cheerleader
Aw.
champion is always in my corner. So having that, I think having a partner, and in some, if it's not a wife, a partner of some sort that can really support your dreams is always instrumental, I think, in making sure that they come true. So.
I love that, Derek. A lot of people don't talk about that aspect, having that support at home because being an entrepreneur is not easy, especially when you're starting up a lot of long hours, time away from family. So, really having that support at home helps. If you can, just give us an example. You said a supportive wife. What do you mean by that? How did her support, or give us an example of her support that really allowed you to do what you needed to do?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it, honestly, is when you think about it from it's a mental change that has to happen, right? Going from a worker to an employer
Yeah.
is a dramatic shift in mentality. The big thing that I would see happening, essentially, of course, first off, you're losing a check that was coming in that we were all relying on a consistent basis, and being the
Hmm.
breadwinner at the time,
Hmm.
that to lose that check, the guaranteed money,
Right.
can be a little daunting for
Right.
one. But the second part of it is that in situations where in the beginning of the company, when we had to spend a lot of money and we were
Hmm.
focusing on doing a lot of different things, she was there. She was encouraging me and not giving me any kind of. She believed in me 100%. It was never like, "Oh, what will happen?" She was like, "Oh, you can do it." So
I love
I think
that.
having that spirit behind you, and as like the Tebow effect, right? Like you have that everybody telling you you're a miracle child,
Yeah.
and just like that, you become a miracle child. So I think that that is essentially what I think happened with my situation to some degree. Although I had that force, I had that driving force inside
Yeah.
me and desire
Yeah.
inside me. I think knowing that I had another person who was willing to kind of sacrifice
Absolutely.
with me would always kind of give me that extra edge.
I love that because at the end of the day, yeah, you have that driving force, but you didn't have to come home and kind of fight.
No,
There was no
yeah,
friction with what you were
yeah,
trying to do and what you were trying to build. There was someone to go along and say, yes, I
yes.
understand that we're a team. I love that. I really do. So, how long Have you had one market real estate? How long have you been in business?
We've been in business now for 11 years, so it's been
Okay.
a good time. I don't know how those years flew by. We had some crazy things happen with COVID and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but it did fly by. And I'm very, very happy of what we were able to build and accomplish. And definitely, we're still growing. That we want to grow. So we're
Hmm.
just, in my eyes, we had a couple setbacks with everything that happened with COVID, but now it's time for us to kind of steam forward and start moving towards the original goal, which was to grow a company that has a ton of agents and a ton of happy
Nice.
agents. So
I love that. So when you started out, were you kind of just working at home? Did you have your own office? How did you manage that transition from
transition.
having a job, going out the door every day to now you have your own thing?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it was there's a couple of things. It's multi-layer too. Like we actually, when I first started, I kind of scouted out what I wanted to do before I left my company. I
Good.
created my financial statements, created my business plan,
Okay.
all that good stuff, of course, just from the business training I had before. So I took all that knowledge and I created that stuff first. And then when I scouted out locations, I made sure I find like an executive suites or something like that that could make sense for the business, that wouldn't be too much overhead, but I can
Hmm.
manage, and I can pay off like a year in advance or something like that to make sure that I'm stable and not have to worry about those kind of things. So we started off with an executive suite and worked our way up to a bigger location,
Nice.
um, where we are now. Mhm.
So then you start out with yourself, kind of just doing everything. How many agents do you have now?
No,
What kind of
actually,
growth?
it was crazy because we actually,
Uh-huh.
when I first started, we one of my agents, one of the people I met who got her license, she was like, "Derek, if you open up a company, I'm signing with you." Right. And so
Okay.
literally, my first agent was Jackie Heller. She joined pretty much like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks after I started the
Okay.
company, and she's been with us ever since. So,
Wow.
and we've had other agents join throughout that year as well. And I think
Hmm.
by the end of that year, that first year, it wasn't the first year; it was like 6 months. But in the first 6 months, we had about 6 agents or 7 agents on the team.
Very
And
good, Derek.
we ended up growing a little bit more. We ended up growing up to 27. We
Okay.
at one at our height, we were about 32
Wow.
agents. But no, our goal is to grow to 200. So we're nowhere
Okay.
near our goal.
Okay.
However, we did grow to about 30, from 27 now agents on the team.
But let me say this though. Um, Now you're saying you know we're close to your goal, but the point is you've been able to grow through some difficult times. So kind of just walk us through a little bit, because we have to be real. It's not always easy. For our small companies, there will be some obstacles that you have to face. So can you kind of tell us how you mentioned COVID a couple times? How you made it through COVID? What was the strategy? How did you have to shift in order to make it through and show up on the other side? Because a lot of businesses did not
Yeah.
survive COVID.
So there were a couple of things. First off, I think it was based in how we designed the company.
Mm,
When I first started in real estate, like I said, I was working as a realtor, and I worked for some bigger companies out there. Right, I'm not going to name them. There were some great companies in
yeah,
their own
yeah.
right. But in one situation, I was like, I got the Realtor of the Month award. I outsold like 200 other agents for that month, and
Mm,
the broker didn't know my name. And so that left something in me. And on top of that, part of my motto and my perspective has always been anything I touch, anything that I'm involved in, my
hmm.
job is to make it better. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
with every agent I meet, I instill that energy in it. And on
Good.
top of that, I think when we formulated the company, the concept was to, I worked with several different companies. So I took a little
Hmm.
bit of every company I worked with, but I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that every agent knew that I knew who I knew what their name
Right.
was. Not only just that, but I want to know who they are. I want to know who their
Yeah.
family members are. I want to be the one to be your champion in your corner, to
Mm,
push your business forward. Primarily, our whole goal, our whole culture has been about providing services that I always wish I had. Anything that I wished I
mm,
wanted as a realtor, I wanted to provide those services for my agents. So we pay a lot more than some
mm.
other smaller companies do, and a lot of bigger
Okay.
companies do on our team members. We cover a lot of their costs in a lot of different ways, and we do things to promote them in different ways as well. And so I think with that culture and with that company concept that we created, um, I think that helped us with our agents with sustainability, right? Our
Right.
agents not leaving us, which is a
Right.
big thing. Because I think
Mm.
a lot of people left the industry, but because we were still there, showing that we were supporting them, we were
Right.
working through some of the challenges. I think they recognized the value in what we presented as a company. That was the beginning part of it, just sustaining the agents that we had.
Hmm.
In addition to that, like there was a lot of things that happened before COVID, with like the civil unrest that or during COVID happened, but the civil unrest that happened was also
Yeah.
difficult. A lot of people were protesting. A lot of people were working through
Mhm.
the challenges of this country that,
Right.
but what we did is we didn't, a lot of people shied away from that,
Right.
but we didn't. As a company, we recognized what we felt was right, and
Right.
we stood behind our agents. We had a meeting about it. We talked about it. We got
Okay.
our agents vent about their challenges and their
Mm.
express their emotions and thoughts on the matter, and we showed them that we were with them on every aspect of what they're trying to accomplish and things like that. So I think supporting our team members, working through a lot of the challenges that they were experiencing and helping them through those tough times was part of the reasons why we were able to come out on the other end. And it was challenging. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
we didn't get the funds that some of the bigger companies got, and
Right.
so that was tough. And when it did happen,
But you know what, Derek, I'm taking away from this is you went in business in essence and you wanted to provide an environment that you wanted, and you put your people first on actually showing them that you value them as people. Like, I see you. And I think that definitely matters. Money can get you so far, but if you don't feel like you're valued, and that your input is worthwhile, that you fit, you belong, you're wanted in that space, then most folks will leave. So that is really a testament to the environment that you intentionally created for the people that work for you. So then, in essence, you care about them. You're a nice guy. And so they're like, I want to stick around with Derek. Derek's going to make sure he's looking out for me. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that type of working environment? I think that's really cool. I think that's a lesson that folks can learn from and can take from, because I think so often people think you have to be hard hitting to be a boss, to get the most out of people. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can respect them, show that you value them, and people will stick around because now they feel they have some skin in the game. They want you to be successful too. I love that.
yeah.
So you're growing, and you made it through COVID. But let me ask you this: what do you feel is your unique proposition in this space as a real estate broker, and you bring on real estate agents? Because I will tell you, Derek, because we keeping it real, okay? Um, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was before COVID, but at some point, everybody thought they could take a little real estate class. Ooh, I'm going to get my real estate license. And here I am. Now I can put on social media that I'm a real estate agent, and I'm just going to sell houses. I'm just going to sell everything. And so there was just this inundation and saturation of the market with people who really had no expertise, if you will, who really didn't study and research the market to really add or provide value to the folks that were looking for homes. So how did one market, real estate, stand out as an institution and an entity that said, this is where you should come if you want a certain standard of service?
And I think the word standard is kind of what is instrumental in what I was trying to create and what we were trying to build as a company. So I think that's essentially what set us apart, is that not only are we creating a standard for how we want to be perceived as a company in the public eye, but for our agents. And we
Mhm.
provide them with their own buyer's kit so that they can just come into the industry after they get their license and automatically have the professional things needed to present
Right.
themselves as the most professional realtor possible. They have their seller kit so they can go in and
Mhm.
go on listing presentations the next day. with the listing presentation present for them, with
There we go.
documentation and information about who they are, and their bios and things like that provided by our marketing provider. So all those things kind of come into play with what we're doing. We're creating standards for them on how they can present themselves, not just how the company presents itself to the public.
Very
That's
nice.
one of the things that I think are different from us. In addition to that, we give them software that, like,
Mm,
some of the software we pay for is the number one software in America for agents, and we provide it for them free of cost. So we absorb that as a firm, and those are things that, being the type of company that we are, and the type of business model that we present to our agents, we're one of the only companies that do that for free. So in South Florida.
well,
So with that, we have a software that allows them to kind of really market themselves with a couple clicks of the button,
nice.
which most agencies don't provide, unless you have to pay for it separately, of course, on a monthly basis. And then the bigger thing is training.
Mm,
Like I said, everything I've done with the company is to kind of think about the challenges I experienced when I first became a
mm,
realtor. And then also when I became a seasoned agent, like, what are the things
yeah,
that I felt I could benefit from a company? Because once you get a certain amount of knowledge in the business,
yeah.
your broker is not as needed as before, right? So,
Mm.
I mean, I when I was an agent, for example, Marnay always will tell you this, that she was like, "No, you got to leave that company," when the broker was asking me questions on how I did certain things.
There you go.
So, so she was like,
The
she
wife
was
is
like,
right.
"Negative."
The wife is right.
Wife is right. Yeah. So with that being said, like, we have a broker, we have a boot camp that we do quarterly that teaches them how to be effective time management, how to also have goal setting, how to work with buyers, how to work with sellers, and true prospecting on how to be successful at it. So those things are on addition to the weekly training that we offer on Tuesdays for our team members, where they actually sit with me and on a Zoom call and go through any challenges that they're experiencing for the week. We also have some training classes on,
Mm,
like, how to use how to use AI effectively, how to work their
nice.
business effectively on a weekly basis. So different things that we offer kind of set us apart. And
Mm,
once again, you just have someone in your corner. Like I said, I
mm,
want everybody to win. I always say that. I think there's room for all of us in real estate. It doesn't have to be this rat race where everybody
yeah.
feels like you got to watch your back. Honestly, our team members work together, and it makes me so proud when I see them talking to each other and
Yeah.
figuring out ways to do open houses together. And it makes me
Yeah.
proud when I see them, like, post one market on their Instagram and Facebook, and really represent the company to the extent that I never thought sometimes it would be represented.
Mhm.
So those are things that really warm my heart and make me feel like I'm doing a good thing. So.
I love that. That investment once again. So showing the folks their worth, that they're valued, but then also investing in them so that you're raising the bar, you're helping them professionalize themselves. And I think that's important. Once again, anybody can kind of, I guess, push themselves through some classes and get a license, but to get out there in front of folks in a very confident and competent way, it does take some training. And so
Yeah.
I love that you've chosen to invest in your folks. That's
Yeah, most
important.
yeah, most realtors don't realize that once you get your license, like, the brokerage is usually like, well, figure out how to make some money.
Oh,
And
wow.
they don't help you with much.
Wow.
Some companies offer
Wow.
certain things, but
Uh-huh.
we offer so much more.
That's so hands-on of you, and I love that. But then that's also kind of the benefit of you being able to kind of have those experiences, saying, "I want to create something completely different." I will say this too, Derek, because you mentioned AI, and I recall when I first met you, even the whole using drones to
Yeah.
showcase property and all of that was not something that a lot of people did. So you were very innovative with the way, you're training, you're investing in your people, but even on the customer side, and giving them a different experience. So talk a little bit about your take on that experience of that client experience that you've kind of honed or wanted to change a bit, because like I said, no one was using the drones and things of that nature when you were doing it.
Yeah, no, honestly, like, the thing about with me is I try to stay on top of technology. I
Yeah.
love technology. I mean,
Okay.
honestly, some people would tell you I'm a little bit of a geek in some in some respects. But I love technology, and I love like some of the new things that are coming out. If you look at some of my reels that I have on
Yeah.
Instagram or whatever, you probably see how we're incorporating AI into all of our videos and
Mm,
our things like that, which is really cool. But in general, I've always tried to stay on top of things, because not just for my own personal benefit to stand out,
yeah.
but because I think it will give an edge to our customers. So whenever I learn something, my team members learn something. So if I
Nice.
learn how to do something and I use a software that I think has been very effective in my business, I just pass that along. I mean, a lot of times I'm training from my mistakes, but sometimes I'm training from my wins as well. So with that, every aspect of our business is going to be focused on really staying on top of the time on what's going on and being one of the innovators, and seeing people do it now. It's like, it makes me feel bad a little
Yeah.
bit, because I'm like, geez, like I was doing this and no one knew about it, and now it's become the
No.
standard in real estate. But there's still things that we do now that people still aren't doing. But I think in time, I just got to stay ahead of the curve at
Yeah.
all times, so
Yeah.
that we can kind of keep beating everyone else out.
Well, I won't have you reveal what you're doing now that others aren't doing it, but I will say this. Even on our we did like the state of real estate at one point, and you were the host for that online segment a few years back. And it was so funny. We had other real estate agents, on, as well as other professionals in the chamber. But you kind of flashed on the screen just even the in-depth research that you do to ensure that the listing is placed in the spaces, so the proper folks are viewing it, so that you get more, folks interested in the property, etc. I mean, the whole that slide was complete. It was filled, and there were other people trying to take trying to take notes or whatever. And I was like, look at you trying to. But that just shows that you're doing the research. You're truly trying to understand the depth and breadth of what you're doing, so that you're taking it from the agent side, but also the client side, whether you're helping them sell or helping someone buy a home. How can we be of most value and help to you, which means you take what you do very seriously, and so you put in the work to be innovative and the time to do the research to say, how can we make sure we're getting those eyeballs, how can we make sure that we're getting those properties out there, so that our clients get the best results. And I think that definitely matters. It definitely matters.
Yeah. Well, it's a passion. I think more than anything else, it's just having a passion for something. I stay up late looking at articles and reading stuff about stuff, and like Renee's always like, put your phone away, go to bed, stop working.
That's funny.
But but it's just part of the passion I do have for the industry, and I love real estate, and so it kind of help me sleep at night. So,
I hear you. So as we wrap up, I'm asking everybody this question because I believe succession planning is so important, especially with, our businesses, Black businesses. So you have two little ones.
yes.
Remind me of the ages.
So I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, Lucas and
Yeah,
Amar.
right. So you have some little ones. So they're not quite ready to take over and take over yet. But, as you look to the future of your company, what do you see? What are you thinking?
Well, honestly, like when we first start, like I don't start things just to be like a one-man show. That's never been my objective.
I love that.
So I've always seen our company really growing to a point where they can just sit on a board of directors somewhere, right? And give direction on how they want the company to continue. That's really what I would love for them. And if they decide that there's something that they don't want to do, would have a board of directors that would make the decisions for the company, and they just get checks. So either way,
I love that.
take what dad has done and grow with it. I mean, I've already invested in them in other ways as well. Like I invest in real estate and stuff like that. So I've already provided for them in those respects with different properties and things like that, in hopes that, once they get to a space, they'll have their little trust, and
Yeah.
they got to figure it out. I mean, don't get me wrong, they got to get all the benefits of all this stuff, because everything I'm doing, I feel like I'm just building the foundation and creating something for them. But at the end of the day, being a dad has been an amazing experience for me. Probably the greatest part of life has been seeing them grow and being able to watch them mature, and and anything I can do to provide for them and make sure they're taken care of before or during my life, is definitely money and time well spent. So for me, it's just making sure that they have their things set up in order for them, and then also give them the opportunity to kind of lead in ways that they want to lead. If it's my company, then great. If not, they'll have their own opportunity and space to or at least to be provided for them to go and chase after one of the dreams they may have.
I love that, Derek. That's like the perfect note to end on. I've done quite a few interviews, even outside of this show, and I haven't heard anyone say that. I love the way you put that. Just for them to serve on a board of directors. I love that. No, because that is that's a vision. That
Yeah.
is a very clear vision, and I love that. And I love the fact that as a father and as a parent, you're thinking that far ahead. You're preparing, your children for success, a successful future upon which they can stand on your shoulders and build even higher for their kids and their family. So thank you for sharing your story from Brooklyn to Florida, from New York to Florida, to working in real estate development, to now owning your own company. We wish you continued success, and I know with your passion, your determination, and focus that you'll have it. You'll do exactly what you set out to do. So thank you, Derek, for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you all for joining us. I hope that you got as much out of this as I did. I think that listening to the stories, the details behind what makes our entrepreneurs tick and why they make the decisions they make is important. I think not only our young people, but other entrepreneurs can learn from this and be inspired as well. Make sure you join us for our next episode on Minute with a Member next week. Until then, be good.